Okay, so it's time to finish off the book of Proverbs with the last two chapters of Proverbs, chapter 30 and 31. Now, both of these chapters are going to have someone else's name mentioned in connection to being the author of these two chapters. Chapter 30 is supposedly coming in chapter 30, verse 1. It says, the sayings of Augur, son of Jakeh, an oracle. 31, it says it's the sayings of King Lemuel, an oracle his mother taught him. Augur is talking apparently to some guys named Uthiel and Ukal, although there is a translation issue here. So who are these people? Well, the fact is we really don't know. Augur, Jakeh, Ithiel, Ukal, and Lemuel are all basically unknown. There are two possibilities, basically. They're either contemporaries of Solomon that Solomon knew about and collected their sayings from. Lemuel is described as a king, so presumably a king somewhere near him that he knew of. Or they're referring to Solomon. They're not really proper names, and this is another way of Solomon referring to himself. I tend to favor that idea. Augur could mean just collector, and Jakeh could mean basically pious. So chapter 30, verse 1 could be saying the sayings of the collector, son of the pious one, or something along those lines. And Ithiel and Ukal may not be names either. And there is another way of translating it, as you'll see in the footnotes at the bottom of your text. So my general feeling is that these are probably not individual people and are self-obscuring ways for Solomon to refer to himself. I think we're still dealing with the teaching. I think Solomon these could have been people. These could have been individual people. Even if so, I think that these are people that were known to Solomon, contemporaries of Solomon, and he collected, or possibly slightly predecessors of him, maybe a little before him, but probably contemporaries. And he collected their sayings in his own book. I think it's one of those two things. I think ultimately Solomon was responsible for the collections of the Proverbs in both chapter 30 and 31. So 31 is a summary of the entire book, and it basically culminates with a vision of Lady Wisdom personified as an actual person. So there is a unity to the entire book of Proverbs that I think all came ultimately from one author. So my belief is that Solomon authored the entire book, and I tend to think that Augur and Jakeh and Ithiel and Ukal and Lemuel are all words that kind of self-obscure the meaning they're referring to Solomon himself and to the people he's talking to. So my general belief is that Augur is not an individual person. It's just a word to describe Solomon as the collector, the son of the pious one or whatever, and that he's talking. So that's my belief. If that's not the case, then it's somebody that Solomon knew, whose teachings he was impressed with, sufficiently so to include it in his own material. So Proverbs 30, the sayings of Augur, son of Jakeh, an oracle. This man declared to Ithiel and to Ukal, or declared, I am weary, O God, I am weary, O God, and faint. I am the most ignorant of men. So I think he's still talking to the people he was originally talking to. It's just instead of saying son, he's giving them names that mean something. It means I am not God, or I am faint. I am the most ignorant of men. This is Augur speaking here again. I do not have a man's understanding. I have not learned wisdom, nor have I knowledge of the Holy One. Who has gone up to heaven and come down? Well, there's going to be an answer to that question someday now, isn't there? Who has gathered up the wind in the hollow of his hand? This sounds a lot like the end of the book of Job, doesn't it? Who has wrapped up the waters in his cloak? Who has established all the ends of earth? What is his name and the name of his son? Tell me if you know. Augur didn't know this, apparently. Whoever Augur was, whether it's a reference to Solomon or some actual dude named Augur, this guy didn't know that. We can know who that is by reading the rest of the Bible, by reading the rest of the story. Job wanted to know that too. That's how the book of Job ends. But we have the advantage that Job and Solomon and Augur didn't have, and that we know the rest of the story. So we know the answers to those questions. Every word of God is flawless. He is a shield to those who take refuge in him. Do not add to his words, or he will rebuke you and prove you a liar. 2 things I ask of you, O Lord. Do not refuse me before I die. Keep falsehood and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. That's what Jesus is going to tell us to ask for in the days to come. Otherwise, I may have too much and disown you, and say, who is the Lord? Or I may become poor and steal, and so dishonor the name of my God. Do not slander a servant to his master, or he will curse you, and you will pay for it. There are those who curse their fathers and do not bless their mothers, those who are pure in their own eyes, and yet are not cleansed of their filth. Those whose eyes are ever so haughty, whose glances are so disdainful, those whose teeth are swords, and whose jaws are set with knives. So their words are weapons. They use their words as weapons to hurt people, to devour the poor from the earth, the needy from among mankind. The leech has 2 daughters. Give, give, they cry. There are 3 things that are never satisfied, 4 that never say enough. The grave, we've read about that before. The barren womb, can never have too many kids. Land, which is never satisfied with water. And fire, which never says enough. It can always keep burning up more stuff. The eye that mocks a father, that scorns obedience to a mother, will be pecked out by the ravens of the valley, and will be eaten by the vultures. There are 3 things that are too amazing for me, 4 that I do not understand. The way of an eagle in the sky, the way of a snake on the rock, the way of a ship on the high seas, and the way of a man with a maiden. This is the way of an adulteress. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I've done nothing wrong. Under 3 things the earth trembles. Under 4 they cannot bear up. A servant who becomes king, a fool who is full of food, an unloved woman who is married. You know what she's going to want to do then. If she's married and unloved, she's going to want to find that love through other means, through other men. And a maidservant who displaces her mistress. 4 things on earth are small, yet are extremely wise. Ants are creatures of little strength, yet they store up food in the summer. Conies, there's a note down here saying the hyrax or the rock badger, are creatures of little power, yet they make their home in the crags. Locusts have no king, yet they advance together in ranks. A lizard, or spider, can be taught with the hand, yet it is found in kings' palaces. There are 3 things that are stately in their stride, 4 that move with stately bearing. A lion, mighty among beasts, who retreats before nothing. A strutting rooster, a he-goat, and a king with his army around him, or a king secure against revolt. If you have played the fool and exalted yourself, or if you have planned evil, clap your hand over your mouth. For as churning the milk produces butter, and as twisting the nose produces blood, so stirring up anger produces strife. Those were the words of Augur, son of Jakeh. Now the sayings of King Lemuel, an oracle his mother taught him, or Lemuel, king of Massa, which his mother taught him. Now there was no king in Israel who ever had the name Lemuel. This is either a king that lived around the time of Solomon that Solomon knew about, maybe a guy named King of Massa. I'm not sure if there was a record of a King Lemuel of Massa around this point in time. I don't know. Or it could be another way of Solomon referring to himself through some contrived methods. I've read some explanations of this name potentially being... We already know Solomon had another name. He was actually given the name Jedediah by God. So it's possible this could be another name by which Solomon is referring to himself. It does say king here. Now, with Augur, it didn't say king. With Lemuel, it does say king. So he was a king of something. And all this stuff he's getting here is coming from his mother. So these are the sayings of King Lemuel according to what his mother taught him. So this is about as close as we come anywhere in the scriptures to getting a portion of scripture written by a woman. Because this is coming from the mother of King Lemuel. So this is not actually his own teachings. He's getting this from his mom, whoever he is. Well, if it is Solomon, then this was actually coming from Bathsheba, because Bathsheba was his mom. If it's not, then who knows who King Lemuel's mother was. Now, this is, of course, going to have, at the end of it, the famous section of the Proverbs 31 woman. But remember, this goes back to what we've been reading all along in this book of Proverbs. We spent a long time at the beginning identifying wisdom and personifying wisdom as a woman, as a female figure, and saying choose wisdom over folly. Wisdom was there with God in the beginning, the first of all of God's creations, and God used wisdom to infuse the entire creation with it as a moment of creation. So now we're coming back full circle to that, and we're going to be personifying wisdom, Lady Wisdom, the idea of wisdom as a female character, as an actual person. We're going to be personifying this concept of wisdom, which we've identified as feminine throughout the book of Proverbs, into the form of an actual person, and saying, here's what this looks like in action. So don't get too bent out of shape over the superwoman type aspects of this character. And guys, don't get the idea that this section of scripture doesn't apply to you. And don't just say, hey wife, don't tell your wife, hey wife, be a Proverbs 31 woman. Like, this is what wisdom looks like when it's personified in the life of a person. That's why I tend to think that Lemuel and Augur both are Solomon. This fits into the overall theme and structure of the book of Proverbs so well that it seems to me like it's unified, that it's a whole, and that, it seems like it to me. So my personal feeling is that this probably is Solomon himself speaking, and for whatever the reason, referring to himself by a different name. Same thing with Augur, because it seems like it fits into the whole context of the book very well. I don't know. I'll know when I get there. I guess I'll know when I get there. Anyway. So, Proverbs 31. The sayings of King Lemuel, an oracle his mother taught him, or Lemuel, king of Massa, which his mother taught him. O my son, O son of my womb, O son of my vows, were the answer to my prayers. Remember, Hannah made a vow to God to pray for a son, and she got a son. She ended up getting 5 more children after him. So, that might be a reference to that, or maybe just this woman made a vow and prayed to the Lord for a vow. Anyway, for a son, made a vow and prayed. Do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. There's again a prohibition against going down the wrong road. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, not for kings to drink wine, not for rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what the law decrees, and deprive all the oppressed of their rights. Give beer to those who are perishing, wine to those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty, and remember their misery no more. Speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. A wife of noble character, or really a woman of valor, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her, and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax, and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still dark, and provides food for her family, and portions for her servant girls. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings she plants a vineyard, so she's an economic smarty. She knows what to do with her money and how to put it to use and make more money and result in fruit, result in material blessing. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. Those are very feminine tasks back then. The distaff and the spindle, that was the stuff that women did back then. She opens her arms. Some of this stuff is stuff that women typically didn't do. But this was definitely in the wheelhouse of women here, doing the spinning and the yarning. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet, with, of course, the clothes that she's made for them. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She herself is not there. She's not an elder. She's the wife of an elder. But he's respected, and they all respect her. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. So she's not a sluggard, or a drunkard, or a glutton. We've read all kinds of prohibitions against those things, and this lady is not that. She is putting all the Proverbs into action. She is personifying all the instruction and wisdom that we've been giving all throughout this book. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the reward that she has earned, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. So he doesn't sit with the elders of the land, but the elders who do sit at the city gate praise her. Again, that's not really a reference to an individual woman, but it is a reference to what a life looks like when it takes all these concepts of wisdom and puts them into practice. Okay, so that's the book of Proverbs. Proverbs is done. And next time, Next time we're going to be reading through the book of Ecclesiastes, which I hope to be able to do all in one day. Ecclesiastes is not a particularly long book. And it really is a book that needs to be read like all at once. To kind of get the full meaning of it, you kind of need to take it all in at once instead of taking it piece by piece. So I am going to be hoping to, do Ecclesiastes all in one unit. Not one video, but one set of videos next time I do this. So we'll be, and the Song of Solomon too. After that, I'll do Song of Solomon, which again, I intend to kind of do that all at once as well, all in one set of videos. And then we'll be done with the works of Solomon. But that's Proverbs. And again, you don't want to take any one of the Proverbs to be all encompassing or 100% binding in its own right. But they are instructions that we can follow. And when we put them into practice, we'll end up with a life that looks like this superwoman that we see described here at the end of the book, which isn't, again, meant to be a characteristic of a single person per se, as much as it is, this is what a life looks like when it's when all these principles, these proverbs of wisdom are put into practice. Don't do the things that we're warning against. Do the things that we're recommending. Follow the instructions. Don't go down the path that leads to folly. Don't go down the path that leads to the bad house. But follow the path that leads to wisdom. Follow the instructions that wisdom calls out and gives out, and this is what your life will look like.